Anyway, my first question, how do you feel that the Korean media, both North and South, affect public attitudes toward reunification?
Well, I think it's very difficult to compare the North and South Korean media, because in the North you have a state-controlled, party-controlled media landscape, whereas here in the South it's a pluralistic landscape. So the media in North Korea are influencing the people as state propaganda, whereas here in the South there is room for open debate. And therefore I would say that you hear in South Korea different voices as far as reunification is concerned, whereas in North Korea you only hear the party line.
All right. Next question. Last year at the Asian European Editors Forum in Seoul,
Yes.
you said, we, journalists and diplomats, have to bring back to our governments and public the message that any effort to encourage reading about domestic issues and foreign policy is an investment in freedom and democracy.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on encouraging greater international awareness among the citizens of Korea?
First of all, I believe it's very important, for example, to keep a lively and vital net of foreign correspondence. Nowadays, in particular, the print media are under heavy pressure, economic pressure, financial pressure. Therefore, they are cutting back the number of their foreign correspondents. And this immediately has a negative effect on the public awareness of international events and developments. So I would like to encourage in particular the Korean print media to continue with their well-established net of foreign correspondence and not to cut them back.
In your opinion, of course this is speculation,
Yeah.
as you stated, how likely are the two Koreas to unify under the leadership of Kim JongIl?
I would say this is, as you just mentioned, speculation. Because we, right now, do not even know if he will really succeed his father. So the transition process is still underway. And this will need time. We'll have to observe what is going on. I would say the transition crisis in North Korea is continuing. And an end is not in sight.
I think this next question is very related. One of the things that I found out that was very interesting to me is that up until about the late 1970s, by most metrics, North Korea was better developed than South Korea. So what do you think the merits are of either a centrally directed economy, or if that's too strong, the merits of guided capitalism, very directed capitalism for a developing country?
Well, first of all, the economic advantage of North Korea had historical reasons. The Japanese, during the occupation of Korea, developed North Korea as their economic power base for their policy vis-à-vis China. They had major armaments industries there, and they were moving from North Korea into China, into Manchukuo. So this was their operational base, and they developed it. And the South remained agricultural. However, during the first years after the Korean War, when you look to infrastructure building and heavy industries, a state-planned economy can, during the first phase of industrialization, have its advantages. This was the case in North Korea. However, beginning in the 60s, although this was also a strict and authoritarian regime in South Korea at that time, the foundations were laid also for a modern economy, more flexible and more open-minded and more modern than in the North. So the miracle on the hand was the hard work of the people in the South, building the roads from Seoul to the south to Busan, shipbuilding, education, and and yeah, the modernization, permanent modernization of the South Korean society, whereas in the north you had stagnation starting in the early 70s, late 60s.
So with the G20 summit in Seoul rapidly approaching, can you tell us, what kind of impact could the implementation of the free trade agreement have on areas in which both Germany and Korea are currently competitive, such as the automobile and semiconductor industries?
Yes. First of all, we believe that the signing of the free trade agreement should be an example also for other leading economies. This is a signal for free trade and against protectionism. Secondly, we believe that this free trade agreement will demonstrate that free trade is a win-win, will lead to a win-win situation. If we analyze the situation correctly, there will be no loss on either side. Both sides, European side and Korea, will win from this agreement. This is not a zero-sum game, free trade. So, in the end, I would say the EU FTA, EU-Korea FTA should be also for the other G20 participants an example and a precedent.
With regards to that, you said you would prefer a world with open markets, and you know, you're very much anticipating the free trade agreement between the EU and Korea. Do you think that free trade necessarily benefits developing countries always, or do you also think that Korea, it was able to develop on its own so quickly because of its own protectionist policies that favored the table? And one of the big controversies right now between Korea and Japan is that the Japanese feel that the Bank of Korea is keeping the won artificially low so that they're more competitive.
Clearly, for developing nations, in particular during the first phase of their modernization, they need a kind of protection for the emerging economies. And this was also the case in Korea. They have to use their comparative advantages. Nowadays, Korea is a mature, highly developed economy, so they don't need these kind of mechanisms anymore. With regard to the currency situation and the efforts to regulate trade by increasing or decreasing the exchange rates, I believe that among mature economies, the effects of a devaluation are only short-term effects. We saw this in Europe in the 80s, early 90s. When you value your currency, the advantages you gain will be gone in about 3 to 4 years. It's not so much about the exchange rate, it's about the quality of the products, it's about the spectrum of your products you offer, it's about your competitiveness, it's about maintenance, supply for your products. This is what counts. And in the long run, it's not the exchange rate.
To tie this back in with Korea, it's not a multicultural society right now, but given demographic changes,
yes,
it will be in the future. So right now it's a very ethnically homogeneous country. So what challenges do you foresee, and how can the Korean government address these challenges?
What I see is a trend, we also have it in Germany. This is in modern societies, people marry at an older age, get less and less children, in particular young, highly qualified women. They think, well, why should I have to marry? So there will be a situation where you will need more people from other countries to integrate them into your society, of